If you are a content creator like me, chances are you're going to need a piece of software to edit your videos. Now, while there is a debate on which editing software is best for video editing, there's no denying that Premiere Pro from Adobe is one of the best and most used pieces of software for video editing. And for some people just don't seem to realize how to properly edit their videos and whatnot, and I'm not going to teach you guys how to edit using Premiere Pro. It's not that hard, but I might do a tutorial on editing in Premiere Pro at a later date. But a lot of people don't seem to know how to properly render their videos. A lot of people complain about, large file sizes, that the quality isn't as great as I would like it to be. And today I'm going to be showing you guys my render settings and what most of the settings really do when it comes to your renders. So let's get straight into it. So after you've edited your video in Premiere Pro, you have your project, you have your sequence, it's all well and good. You go to export and you click on media, and now we have our little panel here which can determine all the settings for a render. So up here you want to go to your format and you want this to be H.264. This is what I use. It's what everybody should be using. It's the best format for encoding right now. And that's really about it. You can use others if you're feeling dangerous or whatnot, but H.264 right now is the best to use in Adobe Premiere Pro. Now for your preset, you can just match the source, which is okay, but you can just use your own little preset right here. I have 1080p 60 FPS for YouTube. You guys will probably want to make your own preset as well, depending on what I say in this video. But you have a bunch of other templates if you feel like using those. Even Premiere Pro has some ones for YouTube, like YouTube 1080p, which you can use if you want, but I prefer to use my own custom template preset right here. Comments, not really important. Your output name, it also determines where you output your video to, so you probably want to do this to a hard drive if you have two drives, an SSD and a hard drive. Safety of hard drive, the file sizes are pretty large, and constant writes to your SSD are not good. Pick your name, and that's that. And you just have a little summary here of your output and everything, which is all well and good. But here, you don't need to worry about the effects tab. Most of it's pretty useless for most people. If you're doing some complex stuff, it might be useful, but I don't, so it's not useful for me. But here, you have your width and your height. This determines your resolution of the video, whether it's 1080p, 720p, 4K, and whatnot. I set it to 1080p, which is 1920 for your width and 1080 for your height. This is pretty much the golden standard for YouTube. You don't need more, and you definitely don't want any less. You can go for more if you want, like 2560 by 1440, so that's 1440p. That's doable. You can go 4K, that's doable, but for most people, 1080p is what's just right. Now your FPS or your frame rate should be set as 60 right now because YouTube supports 60 FPS. If for some reason you don't like 60 FPS because it takes longer to render your video, file sizes are too big, you can uncheck this and go to 30 FPS or 50 or 59.94 and whatnot, but I recommend just leaving it at 60 FPS. Now field order should always be progressive. Your aspect ratio of the video should always be square, so 1:1 pixels. You don't want anything different because it's going to make things look particularly funky and you don't really want that. TV standard really doesn't matter, it depends where you live really. Some people use the NTSC standard, some regions in the PAL region use PAL, of course. Not really important. You have your profile, which should always be set to high, your levels. I'm not really sure what these do that much, but I set to 4.2, doesn't seem to affect anything that much. Correct me if I'm wrong, but changing it hasn't seemed to done much for me, but it might do something. I'm not sure. You don't really need to check this box, doesn't do much for me. Takes longer to encode and doesn't give that much better performance. For my bitrate settings, I have VBO 1 pass, so you can have 2 passes if you want. What this means is the software will go view video twice to do 2 rounds of encoding to make sure everything's looking nice and good, but it takes longer to encode. 1 pass it just does it once, and CBR is another way to do it, but I just use VBO 1 pass. Now your target bitrate is pretty much going to decide how big your file size is going to be. If you look at the bottom, you have an estimated file size of 1587 megabytes, so 1.5 gigabytes. And if I push this up, you'll see that the estimated file size increases. Now this is nowhere near a hard limit on how big or small your file size is going to be. Again, it's an estimate, but I feel that 10 megabits per second, just set to 10, is the best, balance between your file size, your encoding time, and quality. Again, you can have it higher or lower, but I find 10 is best. Maybe 15 if you want the best quality, but again, file sizes are going to be a bit bigger, and I don't think that's worth it. So I set to 10. Your maximum bitrate, however, is important. You want to set that as high as possible because your data rate's never going to be the same throughout your whole entire video. Things are going to change, and when you need that extra bit of bitrate, you want it to use that extra bit of bitrate so you don't sacrifice quality, and that's why you want your maximum to be as high as it goes. That's it for your video. This is where I'm just going to decide how good everything looks and all that. You want to use maximum render quality, of course, to get the best quality. Like, this actually does have an impact on quality, so you want to use that. It might take longer to encode, but it's worth it. But that's it for your basic video settings and that. For your audio, you want AAC, audio codec AAC, sample rate of 48,000 Hertz. Depending on how you recorded your audio, you can change these around, but for most people, stereo is how you record your microphone and that stuff. You want your audio quality to be high, of course. You don't want it to sound like you recorded your voice with a potato. For your bitrate settings, for your audio, you want that to be pretty high just because it's not affecting rendering times or file sizes that much, so you might as well get the best quality you can. And you always want to take precedence over bitrate. Sample rate doesn't always make that much of a difference, but bitrate, as long as it's constant, your voice quality will also be pretty consistent, so that's good. Multiplexer, it just depends which multiplexer you're using. I use MP4, of course, and stream compatibility should just be normal because iPod and PSP aren't really that common for these videos. Captions are necessary. Now here, if you want to, export straight to YouTube as you're running the video, you can check this, log in, set your privacy, and do your tags and description and whatnot, which is all well and good, but I don't do that. I like to upload everything myself through YouTube itself and all that. And after you're done with that, you can either queue to Adobe Media Encoder, which is a completely different piece of software that you don't need to use, or you can export straight away. And it will take some time to do everything, but depending on your file size and how big everything is, like the length of your video, your effects that you put in here, you should be getting quite a decent render time. So for me personally, I have a 6-core CPU, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 970, and this video, which is 21 minutes long, took around, say, trying to remember, around 15 minutes to render. Now for the quality settings I got, that is a very good render time at 60 FPS. It's pretty good. I really enjoy it. It works well for me. And depending on how you guys and how powerful your systems are, you're obviously going to get something different. But yeah, that's it for my render settings. This is the settings I used to get the kind of quality in my videos. Obviously, you're going to want to change some things around depending on your system, depending on your preferences. But that's it for my video. Hopefully you guys enjoy the tutorial. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace out.